All right, so just like in the last lesson, we are today going to multiply and decimals. Last time we multiplied decimals and whole numbers, but this time both of the factors in the problem are going to have decimals. And let's talk about what extra steps might look like there. For a majority of it, it's pretty much the same process. We're going to start today with the problem 1 and 35 hundredths and 4 tenths. We're going to multiply those together. Step 1 tells us we need to set up the problem as if there were no decimal points. Sorry, I kind of ran out of room, so just kind of fill this in with me. The nice thing is, for that very first step, all I'm really going to do is just set up the problem. Now, remember, we are not lining up the decimal points. We're just lining up the factors. Write your problem right there. We're not going to solve it yet because step 2 tells us we're going to multiply like we normally would. We just want to ignore the decimal points. So let's do it. 1 and 35 hundredths times 4 tenths. Go ahead and multiply as if those don't exist. You can pause it, do this multiplication, and check your work with me, or we can do it together. So let's try. 5 times 4 is 20. I get 12 plus 2 more is 14. 4 plus 1 is 5. Did you put a placeholder 0, I hope? Now the nice thing, every factor or digit is now going to multiply by 0, which means I just fill those in. When I add it, I get 540. I went off the page a little. Try to organize your work so that it all fits within the dotted lines. When we cut this out, it's going to prove to be an issue if not. When you have that all caught up, let's go up to step 3. Count the decimal places in the problem. You're going to use the same number of places in the answer. This should look nearly identical to what we did on the multiplying decimals and whole numbers page. I know just from being reasonable, it wouldn't make sense to have 1 and 35 hundredths times 4 tenths. That would never equal 540. That's just not logical. So we're going to look at what do we need to do? Well, if you follow the directions, I need to now count the number of decimal places in each factor. In 1 and 35 hundredths, the decimal moved 2 times. In the number 4 tenths, the number moved 1 time. Which means when I add those up, my decimal is actually going to move a total of 3 times. Which means I'm going to underline 3 digits and put my decimal in front. If I'm being extra picky about my answer, I never want to leave the whole number place value empty. So I'm going to add a 0 in front of my decimal. Your final answer is then going to be written right in that middle box. 0 and 540 thousandths, or a better, more simple way to write it would be get rid of that 0 on the end and just make it 54 hundredths. What I'd like for you to do is go down to the bottom. You have an exit slip in the bottom left-hand corner. Try this problem on your own. If you don't happen to have the exit slip right in front of you, no big deal. Write the problem 1 and 6 tenths times 25 hundredths on a scrap sheet of paper. Solve it. I'd like for you to pause the video right now and come back and see if you check your work, did you do it correctly? All right, let's see how you did. What number did you put on top? I like to look at which number has the most digits. Well, in this case, 25 hundredths had more digits than 1 and 6 tenths. So you should have put your numbers in the same order I did. Now, if I follow step 1, It told me that I needed to set up the problem like there weren't any decimals, and that's exactly what I did. Now I'm going to multiply as if there aren't any decimals. So let's see how you do. Here, I got 30. 12 plus 3 is 15, and I have 1. I put my placeholder 0. Now I'm going to multiply everything by the ones place. I have 5, 2, and 0. When I add these all up, I just got the number 400, but that doesn't seem reasonable for my answer. That's because I have to look over at step number 3. Step number 3 says I need to count the number of places the decimal moved in each factor. Here, it moved 2 places. In the second, it moved 1 place, which means in my final answer, it's going to move 3 places. 1, 2, 3. My decimal goes in front, and we can't forget the whole number placeholder 0. The way that you cut and glue this into your journal is a little bit tricky. Try to follow the instructions off to the side. If you need help, ask your teacher when you get back to school. Have a great day.